The local Tassie band, Luca Brasi, just brought out a new album in the last week or so, and one of the opening lines in the first song is like, "I've got my heat pump on," and then
Nice.
in one of the groups that I follow in it, he's had to explain to all these mainlanders what a heat pump is. So he's like, "Yeah, really dropped the ball with this lyric. Sorry, guys, it's what we call an air conditioner." So
Going once, going twice, sold. You're listening to the Property Pod.
all right, guys, welcome back to the Property Pod, your weekly engagement into real estate here in the Hobart Marketplace. I'm your host, Aaron Horn, and it is a sunny spring day here in Hobart. Sun's out, guns out. Can't believe Johnny Mac's wearing a shirt. What is happening, team?
It's linen, baby.
It breathes. So I'm joined by John McGregor and Patrick Berry.
Negotiations you've got today, you've got to stay cool and dry.
That's right.
What's happening out there in spring, lads? Tell me about the spring market now that we're a few weeks into the one of the funnest months of funnest seasons going around.
Look, I would say there's plenty of stock coming to market, but maybe not quite as many buyers as we'd hope.
Yeah, I guess everyone's still a little bit cautious.
Yep.
That's the be all and end all. But a lot of the contracts we're writing up are subject to sales, and the biggest problem, I suppose, from investors coming to Hobart is that the numbers still aren't there for them. When the interest rates are so high, to buy individual properties just doesn't really make economic sense for a lot of them right now.
Yep.
So a lot of that lower lying stock, it's the best way I could think to describe it, which our investors make up 30% of our market. If that's on a steep decline, well, obviously that has a real negative pressure on the interest for a lot of our properties.
So stuff that's moving is that sort of family home type stuff, the second and third ownership properties.
In terms of, that's what we're seeing. I 100% agree on that. Absolutely.
Guys, this is the first 5 minutes of the show. This is where I get to talk about things that aren't real estate. I mask it by saying it's meant to be, but that was like legit content.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, we'll try to dumb it down.
Dumb it down for me.
Yeah,
Come on.
Sorry, let's pivot back.
Come on, this is the 5 minutes I get to have some fun.
Let's talk about pets.
You're killing me. No, that was good. I actually, walking along my street, I think previously I've talked about this. When I walk my dog, I'll often notice the signboards popping up and popping down whenever there's a bit of action. And, if you see a street with a bunch of signs, what does that mean for the street? My street has turned into that street. There's about six different...
Grove Road.
Geez, there must be one family with a dog and two kids that are annoying.
I wondered, am I the guy that's sending everybody out of the neighbourhood?
Well played, mate. Checks under the table.
They're creeped out by your little boy just staring out the window every Tuesday morning.
Looking for those bin trucks, yeah.
I must say, I just put a buyer's agent agreement together for us, so we could offer our extended services in this company.
Yep.
Because I've done it a few times in the past, and I was chatting with a guy a couple of days ago, just a first-time investors. The guy said he'd been making about $200,000 a year. He wants to be a little bit more aggressive in investing, so he likes the idea of getting an Airbnb and down that route. But his partner seemed to be a lot more conservative, so she would rather just get just a simple, staple sort of property. So mapped out like this financial 10-year prospectus for each property that he asked about.
Yeah.
But when you sort of spat all the numbers down, it was spitting out the fact, well, by the time you've put your, in theory, $200,000 into the kitty, you're getting about 3% return on your money. And in a current environment where the capital growth is a bit stagnant right now, he's looking at that going, this is not what my parents talked about. I said, yeah, this is a different cycle for Hobart, mate.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden it looked really appealing. It was like, well, get back to the conservative side of it. Well, it actually would make sense if he just grabbed that money and either chucked it in his offset or, put it in a interest-bearing account, I suppose.
Yeah.
For the very, very short term. So it's been fun seeing, having
fun talking him out of a sale. Well done.
Pretty much.
We're selling homes, but let's not do that.
But it's trying to get into the minds, I guess, of where why is there less people looking to buy? Well, you're in the mind of a whole sector of the market that are looking at these opportunities and going, it's just not making economical sense right now. So the only way that we can really bolster up those numbers is finding properties that have split opportunities for income or granny flats, etc., so the actual return on their money can be a bit higher.
Yeah.
So it really goes to show, especially in our local marketplace, but even into the city suburbs as well, where the vacancy rates are increasing, etc. That's having a bearing on people wanting to make a decision and happily just waiting on the fence for a little bit because they're not having that fear of missing out. But then once you get those properties that are immaculately done, beautifully presented, they're still flying out the door.
Well, I was going to say again, like just Marilyn, we talked about a few weeks back where she had the one with the property that was, I think, on the market for 3 or 4 days and gone.
Montrose.
I think that's happened to her again in another Montrose one this week.
Yeah,
So,
just 2-bedroom townhouse.
2 absolutely cute as a button, like nothing to be done, just move in. And obviously priced right in that right
Sweet
spot.
Mm-mm.
So, yeah, there's something to be said for.
It'll be interesting to see if Marty can do the same with his new Brighton property that he's got out.
Yes.
Have you been to that one yet?
Burrows.
Yeah.
I have.
That
maybe I've
is
photographed it.
neat as a pin.
Yeah, okay. Oh, Burrows.
We
Yeah,
went there
yes,
yesterday,
yes,
you and I did, John.
Yeah, right on the 600 mark.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so if that moves out the door, it locks in your theory, Aaron.
There you go. I'll take that. Yeah, I'll take the hat trick.
Yeah. For me, I look at that as that's the principles of any market. It's that you want to, if you can, you want to make your property the most appealing,
Oh yeah.
both in presentation, and your price. And that's where I suppose when this was something we were going to talk about last week, where the changes in the terms that both tenants and buyers are actually looking.
Oh, like the most desirable.
Yeah.
Look at you with a segue coming through.
Yeah, what a guy. He saved the day.
Got you, boys.
Yeah, there was an article like some keyword stats that have come out of
PropTrack.
PropTrack, yeah.
So owned by realestate.com, I think.
I believe so, yes.
So where you do the searches, you can add additional features by there's air conditioning, swimming pool, tennis court, floorboards. So there's like a series of tick boxes that you can just go, yes, make sure that the properties I'm searching for have these characteristics.
Yeah, look, I don't know how good this data is, but the one that cracks me up the most is that garages have now taken over swimming pools in Tasmania. Like, I'm not sure who's searching swimming pools in Tasmania.
Hey, mate, back in the day.
But it's good to know that garages are now a more important feature to have in a house than a swimming pool.
I was confused though. Was this just Tassie or was this Australia-wide?
So there were stats across Australia-wide.
Yeah.
I got the Tasmania results
so this is
and
legit.
brought them in. So these are legit the keywords that buyers are searching for in our market or across our state.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just running through them.
Clearly, it's mainland buyers moving that want the swimming pool that don't realise you can't use the swimming pool.
It's that interesting
fill
thing,
up the
maybe,
garage?
when you just want to throw out like a wish
what
of
if.
like a what if.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just going to click swimming pool and just see.
see
what comes back.
But it's a bloody lot of people doing it if that's the case.
Yeah.
The top 10 that people have been searching for across the past year are number 1, garage, number 2, ensuite, number 3, swimming pool, number 4, air conditioning or heat pump if you're here in Tassie.
Oh, that's always a fun one when you're explaining to a new buyer what a heat pump is.
Yeah, well, the local Tassie band, Luca Brasi, just brought out a new album in the last week or so, and one of the opening lines in the first song is like, I've got my heat pump on. And then
Nice.
in one of the groups that I follow in it, he's had to explain to all these mainlanders what a heat pump is. So he's like,
think it's something
yeah, really
sexy.
dropped the ball with this lyric. Sorry, guys. It's what we call an air conditioner. So, yeah, shout out to those guys for like being real Tassie with their lyrics.
So it's pumping something else. Isn't it?
Built-in wardrobes, dishwasher, shed, solar panels. So they're the kind of keyword for buyers are the top 10 across the thing. And look, garage makes sense. It's a
Storage, accommodation.
yeah.
I'm really interested that solar panels have cracked the top 10.
I think it's cool.
Yeah.
For me, it's interesting that people are starting to look at more carbon-friendly homes or more energy-efficient homes because electricity is so expensive these days.
Yeah.
So, and it's really expensive to buy solar panels. So if you can find a home that already has them, then you get the benefit of the cheaper power without the original outlay of the solar panel.
Look, I want to be on board solar. I so want to be on board. Like, they just need to clean up their image. I just feel like anytime someone calls me about solar or you get served an ad about it, it just seems like a scam. Why does it seem like a scam?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
I guess whenever you get a cold call about anything, there's always a natural skepticism. But the thing was, though, is that, if you go back to the insulation scheme when all of a sudden they had those huge, big financial incentives, that was an absolute mess. You had all those people coming out of the woodwork that had no qualifications, were just pumping it out and getting the kickbacks.
So maybe are you saying that like this is the same thing with the solar? Like
There
it's
could be a
just
couple of companies that are doing it.
I just don't
You
get
gotta
it.
be careful.
I think one of them is the Essendon sponsorship too, isn't it? They can't get out of the rut on Essendon.
Admittedly, you're not getting a big return on investment right now, but ease up.
It's interesting though. Like I'd love to get someone in from
A solar
company and just be like, can you just explain to me?
Well, would Tom Green be able to remember how we had him on
Ingenuity Power? Yeah, they're kicking butt. I don't know.
I reckon we could ask him.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. We have solar on our house, and I'm just in my Aurora account looking now what we generate. You know, we're making like $4 a day, $3 a day. It's not big dollars, so
like back into your account.
Back into our account.
But you're not spending any money though, are you? Like,
no, that's how much comes off our daily usage. Is like $3 a day. So
not exciting.
You know, I think our average day in our household, which is a family of 4, is around $12-13 a day, of which $2, $3 is covered by solar.
Right. Okay.
So it doesn't make a massive difference.
I guess because it's amount of solar panels, the solar orientation.
And I agree, ours aren't orientated to maximise the sun. But you know, I'm not sure if you're going to be making the big promises that they promise.
And that's the point, eh? Like if you're got a south facing house in the Leonard Valley, that particular part of the roof doesn't get anything. Well, then a complete waste of money. Yeah. And you are like you're just getting sold a snake oil.
Well, I don't know. I'd love to dive deeper into it and find out more. It is something I would like to know.
Yeah.
And it's just got a bad reputation. Like even when you turn from Elwick Road onto off the highway, there's a sign there saying something about don't get scammed by solar.
Man, it's like, no.
Yeah,
you could put real estate agent on there as well, and everyone would be thinking the same. You know, like anything when it comes to selling instantly has a bad connotation to it. You know, especially when it's getting pumped down your throat. I'll rephrase that. Especially when we're talking about heat pumps, not love pumps.
Moving forward,
let's find out the keywords for renters.
Pet friendly.
Yeah, pet friendly. Yeah, a huge one.
And I would have to say that it's got to be, if you're in a spot with your rental to allow pets, it has got to be the game changer to get a premium price and a quicker rental.
And most people are good pet owners.
Yeah.
Very simply, yeah.
Because so many people have pets and they limit it with what they can rent. So when one comes up that ticks the boxes, boom, it's gone straight away.
Years ago, we actually had a pet bond in our business before the legislation changed where you weren't even allowed, you were no longer allowed to charge it.
Yeah.
What we found was people had no issue. I think it was $50. Like no one had an issue paying the $50.
I remember those days. It was about $50.
But the thing was that when they removed that option, everyone just went, well, fine, no pets then. You know, it was that thing where no one had an issue paying. It was just that the thought was, well, they shouldn't have to pay more just because they've got a pet. So then it was like, well, okay, if we can't minimise our risks, then well, I guess we just won't allow pets anymore.
Yeah.
And it was just that. But I'm glad to see that now. I think a lot of people are starting to sway in the other direction. But I think we actually influence our owners in a big way. Like we're trying to encourage them to say, hey, look, allow it to be pet friendly. You're going to attract a much wider. You know, you can attract good people. And if you find that the pet that they have doesn't necessarily fit your property, well, we can always just, you know, we don't have to go in that direction.
Well, I think that's the key. Like we do a lot of pets on application with ours. And that way we allow everyone to have a look. And if you just say no pets, what if it's like a little freaking bird in a cage? That's not going to have any effect on the home at all.
Yeah, it'd be reasonable.
Yeah. And the same as like different sized dogs. Like if it's a little 2-bedroom unit, then a Great Dane's not going to be the best animal to have there.
No.
But, you know, if you have pets on application, you can just assess each application and assess what type of animal it is at the time.
Yeah. And I guess when you look at it, renters versus owners, is that owners aren't worried about it because they're in control of the property, so they don't have to answer to anybody, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
But with the tenancy in that regard, well, then, you know, it's a big hindrance for them.
So other words on the list, I think number 2 was furnished. Now that one surprised me.
Yeah, that's super
because
surprising.
Here in our agency, we would talk people out of furnished homes because most people have their own belongings.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can imagine furnished homes, if this is like Hobart, for instance, versus Tasmania, I could potentially understand
inner city kind of style,
inner city apartments being fully furnished because we have a lot of doctors that come in for 6-12 month stints at the Royal Hobart, things like that. So having a fully furnished apartment is easy. But across Greater Tasmania, I was surprised that people are looking for fully furnished properties.
Air conditioning is number 4. Garage is number 3. So those 2 things are right on line with buyers as well.
Yeah. So outdoor area, you know, it's nice to have a spot.
Built-in wardrobes doesn't surprise me, actually.
In a rental?
Well, I've noticed the change in people's expectations has greatly increased over the last few years.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily mean that in a bad way, but I don't think that our generation and the younger really want chest of drawers at all. You know, so that if there's no storage in that house, they're just walking out. And a good
Heard it here
example.
first. No storage. We're
Well,
out.
Yeah.
There was one that we had down at Derwent Park, and he'd actually bought one of those storage ones from like Fantastic Furniture where you can build the wardrobe yourself.
Build a wardrobe, pop it in the corner.
Yeah, and then boom, taken the next day. But before that, when the whole, because there's an old 1940s home, so none of the bedrooms had any storage whatsoever. So the whole house was like, well, where the heck do I put anything?
Yeah.
And they're just walking away.
The rental that I had out at Claremont had zero storage at all.
Yeah.
Not a single thing.
Yep.
So it's challenging. You got to find solutions.
Yeah, and I guess we've just got a lot of stuff these days. But but that's the thing. When I chatted to the owner at the time, I was just like, mate, the next time you can swing around, we're gonna have to put some storage in this place because otherwise we're going to be in the same boat. As you were when you're on the market.
Yeah, it's amazing. I didn't really think that would be such a big one, but obviously it's in the top 10 of what people are searching for in that area.
Plus,
I think the guy that made this report, though, just has a thing for swimming pools because what renter is looking for a swimming pool, which has made it into spot number 9?
Again, it's a wish list item. You're just going like, well, I'm just going to see if there's any out there with a swimming pool.
What houses have swimming pools?
Has realestate.com just got that automatically ticked on and you've got to tick it off? Like, is that what we're dealing with here? Because I cannot think of any renter that's going, I really need a swimming pool in this next rental. Got the next Michael Phelps here and I've got to train him up every day. Like, it's ridiculous.
I guess maybe I need to look further into my stats. Maybe my stats are nationwide, but I'm fairly sure when I got them, this was what Tassie renters and Tassie homeowners were chasing. So
aside from the swimming pool that really makes no sense, I can see the pattern.
The rest seems legit. It's just the swimming pool is just throwing me. Now, if you're listening and you are a person that searches for swimming pools, I would love to hear from you.
Tell us about it. Do you want to use it? Do you just want to,
Is it a status thing? Do you just like to have it because you get to say, well, I've got a swimming pool? Like, what are you using it for?
If you want someone to give you the negatives about swimming pool, just get Dad to sit in that seat for 5 minutes and just whinge about his power bills after they now have a house with a swimming pool.
Well, that was going to be one of the things for renters when I thought like a swimming pool, is like the maintenance of it and kind of keeping it nice and tidy and a pool and not like a swamp.
Well, they could go hand in hand if you're getting an apartment complex because you could have it furnished with a swimming pool. It's like it's a fancy strata.
Oh, yeah. Like, look at, is it One Collins in town? That's
Crystals Row, yeah.
Yeah, they've got the swimming pools and they're part of the body corporate, so it makes sense.
But even then, that's a rare one in Hobart.
Especially.
Yeah, much more common in state, obviously, but man.
Very interesting. But I like it. I love that people are searching for swimming pools.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that at my next appraisal that has a swimming pool. I'm like, you guys are in luck.
It is top 10.
Speaking of swimming pools, just before we finish up, I just kind of wanted to cover off on, have you guys come across this article? It's a bit clickbaity out there. It's the couple's reaction to the $4.25 million home that they won on the block. Well, so they went on the block, but it was purchased from last year's block by this
guy that has this competition.
This Melbourne businessman. I think it's
a raffle business, basically.
Yeah. So you guys you've come across it. Basically, like there's videos of that he's released of the couple at the place, like kind of going through it. And I think he's filmed it, to be the fluff piece of saying like, we're giving them away the home. They're going to be so excited. And they're walking around pointing out, used to be a wine fridge there. Is the pool heated? Is this,
where's the treadmill?
Where's the treadmill? Where's all these things that were in the house? And so it's kind of turned into a bit of a slinging match of mud of being like, hey, here's, like, we gave you a $4.2 million home. There's no mortgage on it.
Yeah.
You should be stoked. All the articles have kind of been like, how un-Australian to not appreciate this prize.
Yeah. Good luck to them trying to find sympathy in the public. It's just like, I know it's worth $4 million and I could flip it like tomorrow and then we'd become multimillionaires. But the treadmill's gone. I was promised a treadmill, man.
I guess it's in the wording. So if he was giving away a $4.25 million home, but he's taken out $100,000 worth of items because those items were Chattels included in the sale.
Oh.
So is it misleading? He didn't give away 4.25. He only gave away 4.15.
Well, then I guess.
So the couple say, where's my extra $100,000? They should be asking.
I think that's what they're asking.
Yeah. So this is where it's getting really interesting. I think there's another clause in like the raffle where it was you can either have $4.25 million house or I'll give you $3 million in cash. And they've said, no, we'll take the house. I don't know. It's just really interesting.
I think I would have gone to cash.
I see it in the sense that they'd the perception that it was done was that, oh, this is going to happen. And the second you take away from that, spoils the moment. You know, we even see it. It can happen with us from time to time where it may not be a chattel on the contract, but it's included in the photos, and the buyer just gets it in their mind that that's going to be staying, and then it's gone. Like,
so this is where I wanted to.
Yeah.
Great example at the moment. So I'm selling a house at New Norfolk, and it's got this amazing, like, polished concrete barbecue, built-in barbecue.
Right.
But it's not actually built in. It's just sitting on the deck. It looks like it's built in because it's been purposely fit to the space, but it's actually not staying with the house. They're taking it with them.
Yeah.
And so I've had to make it clear to anyone that looks, even though that looks built in, it's just freestanding and it belongs to the owners. They're taking it with them. Because I don't want this exact scenario here to happen where they arrive on settlement day and they're like, where's our barbecue?
Yeah. So this is where I wanted to lead this from the clickbaity article into like talking chattels. You actually came into the bunker the other day and were kind of explaining chattels in a little video format that you were trying to experiment with. Can you talk to me about like what is a chattel? How does that side of real estate work, and is it just a matter of marking down this is staying, this is not staying?
It's easier when I was describing it. Like there was the definition, but I don't think even you think of it like inclusions and exclusions of a property. It seems to be the better way that I've come to understand it now, because they'll have fixtures and fittings is another way to look at it. So a fixture is like the actual cabinetry itself affixed to the wall, into the floor. So there's not really a need to be able to sit there and describe that the kitchen's coming with the house. But with that said, you've got the oven. So the oven needs to be described because it's a fitting.
Yep.
So there's elements that can be removed that aren't affixed to the structure. And the barbecue is another good example where you've got the whole fittings all around that it sits within, but the barbecue can come out easily. So that's where chattels, then fixtures and fittings, inclusions and exclusions come into play. So that's, you'll say, I know it's odd, fixed floor coverings. Carpets can be ripped up. You can't take the floor with you though. You know, electric light fittings. So you have to describe that because you can take the lampshades down.
So is this in every house you're listing? Are you writing down fixed floor coverings? Or is that built into the contract as it's already written down every time?
Well, it'd be in the owner's best interest to not include anything, because then they could just take everything. So it's the purchaser that needs to make sure that there's fixed floor coverings, electric light fittings, the stoves, like all the stuff that they want to stay.
Yeah.
They have to ensure that it's written into the contract. Otherwise, it can be argued to say, hey, it's never part of the deal.
And it's our job, I guess, to make sure we understand what the owner's leaving and not leaving.
Yeah.
Because if we're showing the home and there's this beautiful chandelier over the dining table and we assume that that's fixed to the roof, it belongs to the house, the purchaser gets all excited, and then we find out after we've sold the house, the owner's like, oh no, that was given to me by my mum and dad for an anniversary present. It's got to come with me. It's got sentimental value.
Yep.
All of a sudden, we've promised the purchaser something that is going to actually be removed. So it's also about just understanding.
Yeah. And that's where the exclusion list comes into it, because especially big, we'll use the chandelier, for example, you've got all the, the electric light fittings excluding the giant chandelier in the ballroom.
Yeah.
So at least then
we sell so many ballrooms.
Exactly. Hey, just like we sell
over the swimming
just
pool.
like the swimming pools. Yeah. So that's why, I had it in a case a while back where there was, beautiful timber shelving that was on the wall that ended up.
I remember this.
Huge barnstorm. But the
it was old barn wood, wasn't it?
Exactly.
I love that.
So those things. That's why the expectations have to be set very clearly, because the second that there's a little bit of a muddy water where someone's going to expect something that might have been overpromised or not promised at all, even if it wasn't promised at all, with it there, they're still going to have the expectation that it stays. And I reckon in many ways with that the charity one, the guy said, everything stays.
I guess the tricky bit with the fully furnished one for the block kind of is that it is heavily documented on TV that these are all the features of the house. And, Shayna Blazer's walking around going like, oh, my God,
look at the wine fridge.
Wine fridge is so
That's
nice.
it,
And they do that big deal about doing the depreciation list where they have the company come in and do the whole itemized list of what's included. So
personally, the guy backtracking to say, well, it's my company, I can do what I want. Like, okay, in theory, yes, but that was a really bad way to play it. In the end, it's just like, look, that was what was promised. That's what the expectation is going to be. So it's not surprising that even...
is he the ultimate business person?
Yeah. So
in
this is
terms of the branding, exactly.
Purposely taking things out to make a story out of
so
nothing.
this is so once I've kind of clickbaited down into the story, then you kind of get led down a Reddit wormhole, and we've talked about how horrible Reddit can be, but sometimes there's interesting stuff in there.
Oh yeah,
I did get a few screenshots of people being like this is brilliant business. This guy's like using this disruption technique of just being like, people love a story like this. What if you flicked them 50K just to be like, yeah, you guys be the scapegoats for this little story for a little while?
I think it'd be a brilliant idea.
Yeah. Probably got a sneaky 50K in a brown paper bag to be ungrateful and pump up the viral story.
Yeah.
So in theory, one little way you could say is that we're talking about it. Like, not that we're big, we're a podcast, but
we are.
Well, this is it. Like, he'll
We
come
were
for
in the
us.
newspaper like 2 weeks ago, mate.
But
I think we made the top 10 list of podcasts in Tasmania.
yeah, so
works.
look out.
That works.
We're
Look
in the
out.
same echelon as swimming
I was
pools.
just going to say, just below the swimming pool podcast.
But yes, there's something at the moment to this disruption of media and a bad. Like, what is the old saying? There's
Never a bad story.
never. Yeah,
Yeah, it's bad public.
No such thing as bad press.
that's it. Yeah.
Got their team.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's where, the question is, from a real estate transaction perspective, different hat than just total branding, which is what that guy is. It's a raffle business.
Yes.
So buy luxury goods, sell raffle tickets, and then make profit on that purchase.
I think I even saw last night that it's such a passive aggressive response as well, but it's along the lines of like, oh yeah, we took this $100,000 worth of stuff. Well, now I'm going to raffle this off for $1 to all these other people, and all these proceeds are going to homelessness. So it's all fine. So my image is all resolved. But
that was an absolute lie.
But anyway, it's an interesting little story that got me thinking about Chattels. And as you're saying, you've had a barnstorm with the barn wood. What procedure do you have in place? Like, I guess I'd just love to know, I'm listing a property. I just want to dot my I's, cross my T's. What do you guys do to mark it down?
I think it all comes down to having the right conversations when you list the home for sale.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Talking to your owner and really understanding what is it that's coming, and if there's any uncertainty or grey zone. Like, we quite often come up with this problem when we're selling a rental property.
Yep.
And we don't realise that the shed in the backyard, the tenant paid for and put in, and the tenant has every intention of taking that with them when they leave.
Good example.
And then the owner doesn't tell us that the shed isn't theirs.
Yep.
And then we have this situation that purchaser buys it, and then the new purchaser brings us up and says, oh, the tenant tells me they own the shed. I thought I owned the shed. And, we're talking $1,000 shed. We're not talking big dollars, but they're the type of things that can cause this problem sometimes. So it's always making sure that anything you're unsure of, you just ask the vendor and get clarification early enough so that you can write the proper paperwork up.
Absolutely. And even in the disclosure, sometimes where insulation's a good example. Anytime anyone ever says, is the house insulated? I haven't expected it myself. And I think you guys have had a case once too, but we had it years ago where the owner had said, look, the house is fully insulated. So, okay, cool. Yes, the house is fully insulated. Turns out that the lounge room was, and not the rest of the house. And so then when the purchasers got up at the building inspection, said, well, look, the insulation, it's only in the lounge room. And then, so I want my house fully insulated because that's what was promised and that's what I was sold.
Yeah.
And then we said to the owner, look, mate, he said, no, I didn't. I never promised such a thing. Well, no, I never said that.
I've rewired an entire house at $10,000 because the owner told me it was rewired. I passed that on to the purchaser, and then it turned out to be incorrect. So now, if anyone asks me, I always recommend you get a building inspection.
That's it. Yeah.
Don't get into that conversation anymore.
And going back to the Chattels thing, like Pat said, it's those important conversations where, if something seems obvious, it probably isn't. So the garden shed's a good example. No, I'm taking that shed. Okay, I guess we won't be putting it down then. And it could be little things that just to the buyer, once the expectation's there, that's why they paid that price.
Yep.
And then you take that away, and my God, you're going to have a mess.
Just on the reverse of that, just while you're talking about it, I'm just thinking all those DVDs that showed up in the house the other day.
Oh, yeah.
What happens on the reverse of like things not being in the house? What happens with things that just get left?
Removal of goods, yeah. So in the contract, it states that all items not in the Chattels list must be removed from the property.
Yeah.
The problem is that some people just don't.
Yeah.
And then there's a follow-on to that within
7 days, I'm pretty sure.
7 days following notification to remove them, well, then they effectively become the purchaser's problem. And
So
You've got a responsibility to get rid of them, but if you don't do it in 7 days, it's not your problem anymore. It becomes their problem.
Yeah.
I use the example though, more so that's relevant for useful stuff, and like a tractor might be an example where
Tractor.
Oh, that's your go-to.
Well, because it's on usual rural properties where a lot of stuff gets left around the place.
Yeah.
But if that, I should use it. Anyway, tractor it is. But I could have done something better. Anyway, too late. Swimming pool, above ground swimming pool,
Above ground swimming pool. Yeah.
and a pet. If that so that tractor gets left, it wasn't the Chattels. You've bought the house, Aaron. You write a letter to Pat that says, "Hey, you have to remove that tractor within the next 7 days." On the 8th day, if Pat hasn't done that within 7 days, on the 8th day he comes back and you've already you've sold it. It's like, well, too bad, so sad. It's like on the 8th day you sold it, on the 9th day Pat came, "Where's my tractor?" It's like, "Sorry, mate, I gave you notice to remove it. Now it's gone." So normally though, what happens?
I'd love to say that happens.
It doesn't. It's all the extra crap, and unfortunately, that's why you need to do that work prior to settlement, because it's the only real power play that the purchaser has, is to get to the house the day before settlement and go, "Hey, all this crap's still here. I ain't settling until you resolve the problem."
Okay.
Because after it's settled, good luck.
Yeah.
And then it's just...
So normally it's left to John and Patrick with a ute.
I was going to say, like, the amount of times
That's the reason why there was 70 DVDs in the office the other day.
Yeah, it felt like it was back at Video Easy days. I was like, "Oh man, I haven't seen this in ages. This is so good."
That's why, like, even another one I had, the owners that left like 14 tyres underneath the house. And
Tyres are hard to get rid of.
yeah, and the best part about when I called them up said, "Oh, we thought they would find it useful. Who in the world is going to find 14 busted up tyres useful?" So
Maybe they're building a go-kart track in the backyard.
Yeah, retaining wall.
yeah.
Retaining wall, there you go.
Yeah.
Pop plants.
Swimming pool.
They'll turn into those swans from the 80s. You know, they used to cut it open and turn it into the swan.
So yeah,
See, heaps of uses, mate.
next day, brought the trailer, threw them out, paid the price.
Yeah.
But again, you know, you don't even have to do that as an agency. You can walk away and tell the buyer, "Look, we'll go away." But we obviously don't want to have that pass on that sour problem. And you can really
Although, John, looking at this article that we've started this whole conversation on, maybe we do want that bad press.
Oh, that's
We could turn into
celebrities.
Well, we did drop a clickbait article last week. So anyway, we're getting off track. I didn't even think about kind of stuff being left in a property until you were talking about stuff not being left in a property. But
absolutely, yeah.
For the majority of it, we would normally get rid of it as the end story, isn't it, John?
100%.
Yeah.
It's just not worth it.
Yeah, cool. Sweet. Well, thank you, boys. Shout out to everyone out there that's been listening to the Property Pod. I'm getting bloody close to being a father of 3.
Yeah.
Things might be a little bit fluid coming in the next few weeks.
It's all right. I'm actually starting a new podcast, Pools of Tasmania.
Nice.
I'll fill the gap when we're not.
Nice.
The Property Pod.
Mate, sitting there, in the podcast with the ginger, like, I'm just not going to be part of that at all. Dangerous to my health.
Not bad.
I don't know how many episodes we'll get.
Well, good luck.
You've got an inbuilt audience.
There's a pool story happening just across the road. The one that they're closing down that people want to stay open.
Yeah.
Go gorilla.
Get those people in, get them to come in and talk it up. And yeah, we got this. I'm looking forward to listening to the Pools of Tasmania with Patrick Berry. Watch this space.
It's just a monologue.
Went swimming the other day, guys.
Yeah.
The end.
Picturing like a tweed jacket, cigar. All right, let's wrap this up.
Let's wrap it up. All right, thanks, guys. This is the Property Pod. Like, share, subscribe, do all those things.
See you later.
See ya. Bye. You have been listening to the Property Pod, recorded and edited by 414 Media House in conjunction with 414 Property Code.
This podcast is general information only, and the thoughts and views expressed is the opinion of our panel, and listeners should always seek and use their own investigation into any topic we discuss to ensure they fully understand their own situation.
It does not constitute and should not be relied on as purchasing, selling, financial or investment advice or recommendations, express or implied, and it should not be used as an invitation to take up any agent or investment services. No investment decision or activity should be undertaken on the basis of this information without first seeking qualified and professional advice.